Fashion and pro-life definitely go together. Welcome everyone to a new episode of Seeing Dancing. Today I am joined by a very dear friend of mine from the United States. Her name is Angelique Clark and she has been a pro-life volunteer for many years before she started at just 19 years old her own pro-life organization called LifeDress. Her work as a pro-life activist is wonderful and I can't wait for you all to meet her. I can only say that I was very excited to meet her here in Romania in a very unexpected circumstance. So without further introduction, because she's going to talk more about her work, Angelique, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Angelique, let's start with the most basic question of all. Why are you pro-life?
Well, I am pro-life because I believe every human life is sacred and every human life deserves a chance to actually live, that no one should be discriminated against for any reason when they're in the womb, simply because they're smaller, younger, look different than us at a different developmental stage, that we're all created equally and therefore we should all receive equal human rights.
You have your own pro-life organization. You started LifeDress at just 19 years old. What inspired you to combine activism with fashion?
What inspired me to combine activism with fashion was really the idea that I want to bring the pro-life message everywhere I go. And what better way than what we wear? So I want to share the pro-life message on apparel, on things that people can see on a day-to-day basis to start conversations about abortion, because sometimes that topic's just not going to get brought up in our society and people will stay quiet about it. But if we can actually make bold statements with what we wear, then we can start those conversations where they otherwise wouldn't be had, and then ultimately change hearts and minds.
And I see you're posting a lot of this apparel on your social media. Now, a more difficult question, because you've designed so many cool pieces for LifeDress. If you can pick one, only one of them, which one would you pick and why? Which one is more or the most representative for you?
That's a tricky question, because I do love to make a variety of different designs to, appeal to a variety of different arguments that people make for abortion. But I would say probably the number one would be my latest design, Protect Preborn People. And the Protect Preborn People campaign that I started is very important to me because I believe it encompasses the idea of the whole person. It's not just a baby. It's not just one part of our life. It's our entire life. And that is an individual human person with unique DNA, separate than anyone else on earth. So we should be protecting preborn people, just the same as we would protect any other person.
What can people do in order to be part of your campaign, if they can contribute in any way?
Well, there's a few different ways you can get involved with LifeDress. So one of the big ways is by wearing LifeDress apparel and going out into the world and starting conversations. So that's pretty much the main message and mission of LifeDress, is equip young activists or activists of all ages to be able to speak out against abortion and in the most effective ways possible, and then go out and actually do that, actually go and wear these pro-life messages into your community, into your schools, your churches, your places of work, and be a voice for those who don't have a voice, the preborn.
You are very active on the social media platforms. I follow you. I really, really appreciate what you're doing. And Gen Z is very much about digital activism. How can we make the pro-life message? How do you think we can make the pro-life message go viral like other social causes? Because it's more difficult.
Yeah, I mean, the pro-life message is seemingly controversial because it's misunderstood. People think that the pro-life message means that we don't like women, that we are against women's rights. And I see this all the time in social media and in real life with real life friendships where people are closed off from the message because they misunderstand it. So I think as activists, the best way that we can make our best message go viral or to really get it out there and change the culture is by educating people on the reality of abortion, that it's not just a woman's right to choose. We need to ask ourselves, what is this woman actually choosing? And the answer is violence. The answer is the death of her child. So once we can go out and educate those people with love and compassion and seeing where they are and working with them, walking on a journey together towards the truth, then I believe that's how we can really change the culture and see a big shift in how people really see the pro-life message and how we see human life in general.
It's a great point that you made there. Yeah, definitely. Now, you went through a tough experience when you sued your school to start a pro-life club. We were talking about how controversial the pro-life message is. Speaking of, how did you find the courage to do that? Because there is a lot of courage that you need to do in order to do that. Very few people would actually be able to do that. And what advice would you give to young people who are afraid to speak out about their beliefs?
Well, when I did sue my high school, it was mainly God who was on my side with it. And even though I felt completely alone here on earth at my school with the people I was working with or fighting against, in this case, the entire school district, I knew who I had on my side and I knew I had the truth on my side. And so, to answer the question of how did I get that courage, it was probably 1% me and 99% God. Because he was the one who inspired me to do this and to actually go all the way with it and to continue dedicating my life to the pro-life mission. So otherwise I wouldn't have had the motivation. I was homeschooled growing up and I went to this public high school and then suddenly I had this lawsuit and I went from an introverted person who didn't want to talk in front of the class to being on fire for the pro-life message, being able to walk into any classroom, ask people to sign up for my club, go on to national news. And so it was 100% the Holy Spirit. And that's who I attribute it to. And I would give the advice to young people who may find themselves in a situation where they are being either bullied for their position or, they're trying to be silenced, that it is difficult to be silenced or to be unfriended or unfollowed or all these different things because of your views. But that ultimately, at the end of this life, we're going to be asked, what did you do for the least of the people on earth? And it's so important that we don't turn a blind eye to the injustice of abortion. So the answer really is it's worth it to speak out. And no matter the backlash that you face, you have somebody on your side at all times.
Can you talk in a bit more detail about the process you went through with suing your school? How did it all started?
It's kind of a long story, but the short version is I was in a health class and I needed to do a project on a certain topic. And I decided to do it on abortion because there was kind of a pushback against this topic because it was controversial. And so that kind of motivated me more to do it because I don't know, if someone tells me no, I just kind of want to see where it goes. So I started doing a lot of research and I'd always been pro-life by nature of being Catholic, but it never really hit me until I was in that high school class and I was doing the research in depth and saw abortion for the first time in such a graphic way and in such a real way. And once that reality hit me, I just became consumed with the concept that this is real, this is legal, people support this. And it shocked me so much. So after that inspiration, I just started talking about abortion on campus and asking people what they thought, just trying to start conversations really. And over time, I just realized we need to do this outside of the lunchroom. We need to have a dedicated space for this. So I tried to start a pro-life club at the school. And there was plenty of other groups on campus. There was Bible Club, Gay Straight Alliance Club. There was all kinds of things. So I filed the application. I had an advisor. I had 60 interested students, only needed 10. And I was basically ghosted by the administration. I was just ignored for several months. And over a long process that took about a year and a half, 2 years almost, was me just continuing to ask, why is this being denied? And I was only told about the denial through other people. So it was just a huge controversy on campus. Eventually, I worked with Students for Life of America, who helped me get in touch with, the press, and I was able to share this story on national news, which blew up. And the school ended up continuing to ignore me until I ended up filing a lawsuit after some demand letters. So 3 days after the lawsuit was filed, I won the lawsuit, and free speech happens to be actually protected in the United States. So that was kind of a no-brainer. And so that in a way, I look back on that and realized that it was a huge blessing that I was told no. Because if I had been told yes, I wouldn't have been able to share my story the way that I did. So that's kind of how it happened. And then ever since then, I was able to continue the club and continue fighting for my right to speak about abortion.
A lot of influencers and brands push pro choice messages that also make abortion normative because it considers abortion as an absolutely fine choice and that the choice of abortion is absolutely fine. How do you think Gen Z can flip the narrative of the media?
I think Gen Z can flip the narrative by exposing the scientific reality of when life begins, because it's undisputed science. It's undisputed science that life starts at fertilization, and if life starts at fertilization, then all abortion is morally wrong because we agree as a society that killing people is wrong. So once we can agree on that science and educate people to agree on the basic undisputed science, then the rest of it should follow. And then we can change the culture that way by realizing that abortion is not a compassionate choice. You know, these brands and influencers and social media wants to convince women that they should be able to do whatever they want with their bodies, and that's the compassionate choice. But we see all the time that abortion not only does it kill children, but it harms and negatively impacts women. And so it's not the best choice for women. It's not the only choice for women. And that we need to be a voice to speak out and to share those resources with not only the women who are facing unplanned pregnancy, but with those who should be supporting them in the choice for life.